In the ancient lands of Wales, during the age of the Mabinogion, there lived a powerful magician and lord named Gwydion fab Don. Gwydion faced a great challenge involving his nephew, Blodeuwedd, who had been cursed by his own mother, Rod, never to have a human wife. To circumvent this powerful destiny, Gwydion and the High King Math fab Mathonwy combined their sorcery to create a bride. From the world of nature, they gathered the white blossoms of the oak, the delicate petals of the meadowsweet, and the golden flowers of the broom to weave a physical form. Through deep incantations and the essence of the wild, a woman appeared, the most beautiful creature ever seen in the mortal or spirit realms. They named her Blodeuwedd, which in the old tongue means flower face, a name that reflected both her origin and her staggering beauty. Blodeuwedd was gifted to Blodeuwedd as his wife, and for a time, it seemed that the magicians had successfully outwitted the cosmic curse. They lived in the palace of Merwy Castle, surrounded by the lush greenery of Ardudwy, where the air was always sweet with the scent of spring. However, though her body was made of flowers, Blodeuwedd's soul was as wild and unpredictable as the nature from which she was born. She lacked the innate human understanding of loyalty or the weight of mortal vows, for she was a creature of seasonal shifts and primal instincts. One day, while Lou was away visiting Math fab Mathonwy, a hunter lord named Grome Pebir passed by the gates of Merwy Castle. Grome was the lord of Penlyn, a man of fierce passion and skill, and the moment he saw Blodeuwedd, he was struck by a love that felt like a lightning bolt. Blodeuwedd looked upon Grome and felt a strange, new heat in her floral heart, a stirring that the steady and predictable Lou had never inspired. That night, they feasted together, and by the time the moon reached its zenith, they had vowed to be together, regardless of the consequences. But a great obstacle remained. Blodeuwedd was practically immortal, protected by complex conditions that made him impossible to kill by normal means. He cannot be killed indoors or outdoors, Blodeuwedd whispered to her new lover, nor on horseback or on foot. Grome realized that to claim Blodeuwedd, they would have to trick Lou into revealing the secret of his vulnerability. When Lou returned home, Blodeuwedd feigned a deep, trembling anxiety, clinging to him as if she feared for his life. "My lord," she murmured with a voice like rustling leaves, "if a man sought to kill you, how would he manage such a feat?" Lou, moved by what he thought was her devoted concern, laughed softly and stroked her hair, unaware of the betrayal blooming in her mind. He explained that a spear must be forged for a year during the hours when people were at Mass on Sundays, a time of holy silence. Furthermore, he could only be killed if he stood with one foot on the back of a goat and the other on the edge of a large cauldron. The cauldron had to be placed on the bank of a river, under a thatched roof that was neither a house nor the open sky. Blodeuwedd listened intently, every detail of his undoing etched into her memory like a blueprint for a darker destiny. She sent word to Grome Pebir, who immediately began the year-long process of forging the spear in secret. During the sacred Sunday hours, a year passed, and the tension in Merwy Castle grew like the heavy air before a summer thunderstorm. Blodeuwedd eventually asked Lou to demonstrate the strange position of his vulnerability, claiming she wanted to see the wonder of his protection. Trusting his floral wife completely, Lou agreed, ordering a cauldron to be brought to the banks of the river Sinfale. He had a thatched roof constructed over the cauldron and a goat brought to the riverbank, exactly as the prophecy dictated. As Lou balanced himself one foot on the goat's back and the other on the cauldron's rim, he was no longer protected by his mother's magic. Hidden in the tall reeds nearby, Grome Pebir rose with a cursed spear, his eyes fixed on the man who stood between him and his desire. He threw the spear with the strength born of desperation, and the iron point pierced Lou's side with a sickening sound. Instead of falling dead, Blodeuwedd let out a piercing cry that echoed across the valley of Ardudwy. Before the eyes of the conspirators, his human form dissolved into a cloud of golden light and feathers. He transformed into a great eagle, soaring high into the gray Welsh sky, dripping blood upon the stones as he disappeared into the mist. With Lou gone, Grome Pebir took possession of the palace and the lands, ruling alongside Blodeuwedd in a reign built on blood and deceit. They thought they were free, but they had forgotten the power of the man who had created Blodeuwedd from the blossoms. Gwydion fab Don heard of his nephew's disappearance and set out across the rugged mountains to find the eagle. He followed a trail of rotting flesh and feathers until he found a tree where a sickly, wounded eagle perched, shedding its skin in agony. Gwydion sang 3 ancient England's poetic spells of deep magic to call the bird down from the high branches. With each verse, the eagle descended lower until it finally landed on Gwydion's knee, where he struck it with his magic wand. The eagle transformed back into Blodeuwedd, but he was a mere shadow of his former self, wasted away by the poison of the spear. Gwydion spent many months healing his nephew with the finest herbs and the most potent charms known to the Druids. Once Lou's strength returned, his heart was filled with a cold, unrelenting fire for vengeance against those who had betrayed him. They marched upon Merwai Castle with a host of warriors, the sound of their shields clashing like the coming of winter. Grom Pebir fled to his own lands, but Lu pursued him, demanding that Grom stand where Lu had stood by the river. Grom, knowing his fate was sealed, asked only that a large stone be placed between him and the spear Lu was about to throw. Lu agreed, but his anger was so great that when he cast the spear, it pierced through the solid stone as if it were parchment. The spear struck Grom, killing him instantly and leaving a hole in the rock that can still be seen by the river Sinfale today. But for Blodeuwedd, Gwydion had a different, more lingering punishment in mind. He chased her through the dark forest and over the high ridges, until she was cornered by the edge of a deep lake. "I will not take your life," Gwydion shouted, his voice echoing with the authority of the earth itself. "Instead, I will turn you into a creature that can never show its face to the sun, just as you could not show your true heart to your husband." He cursed her to never again see the light of day without being mocked, and attacked by all other birds of the air. He struck her with his wand, and her beautiful floral skin began to sprout feathers of brown and gray. Her large, enchanting eyes grew rounder and turned a piercing yellow, fixed in a perpetual stare of sorrow and surprise. Her graceful hands became sharp, curved talons, and her voice, once like a melody, became a haunting, lonely screech. She was transformed into an owl, the bird of the night, a creature that is forever associated with betrayal and the shadows. Even her name was taken from her in the bird kingdom. She became known as Adder and Whitecorf, the corpse bird, an omen of doom. To this day, the owl is still called Blodeuwedd in the Welsh language, a reminder of the woman made of flowers. The myth teaches us that while beauty can be manufactured by magic, a loyal heart cannot be forced into existence. Blodeuwedd was a victim of Gwydion's arrogance as much as she was the architect of Lu's suffering. She was created to satisfy a man's need, given no choice in her husband or her very nature. Her betrayal was a violent reclamation of her own will, an attempt to choose for herself in a world governed by male sorcerers. Yet, the price of her rebellion was the loss of her humanity and her connection to the blossoming world. Of her birth, the flowers of the oak, the broom, and the meadowsweet still bloom in the valleys of Wales every year. They are bright and beautiful, swaying in the breeze, seemingly innocent of the tragedy they once composed. But when the sun sets and the shadows stretch long across the ruins of Merwai Castle, a different sound emerges. It is the hoot of the owl, searching for something it lost long ago in the transition from petals to feathers. Blodeuwedd went on to rule wisely, but he never again sought a wife made of magic or nature. He learned that the spirits of the wild are not meant to be tamed or bound by the laws of men. The Celtic myths are filled with such transformations, where the boundary between human and nature is thin and dangerous. The Mabinogion serves as a map of the ancient Welsh soul, where honor and magic are inextricably linked. Blodeuwedd's story is one of the most poignant, reflecting the struggle between destiny and desire. She remains a symbol of the untamable feminine, the wildness that exists beneath the surface of civilization. Some say that on certain nights, the owl flies back to the river Sinfale to look at the hole in ground stone. She remembers the brief moment of passion that felt more real than her entire existence as a magician's puppet. The winds of Ardudwy still carry the scent of meadowsweet, a fragrance that is both sweet and heavy with the weight of the past. Travelers in the Welsh mountains are warned to be careful what they wish for, especially when dealing with the old gods, for magic always demands a balance, and a life created from flowers will eventually wither or grow thorns. Gwydion, too, paid a price, for his nephew's trust in him was never quite the same after the ordeal. The magicians of Britain learned to respect the natural order, realizing that some curses are better left unbroken. The palace of Merwai Castle is now just a memory, its stones reclaimed by the very moss and ivy that Blodeuwedd once resembled. But the myth lives on, told by firesides and in the pages of ancient manuscripts. It reminds us that we are all made of different elements, some light and some dark. Blodeuwedd was made of the best parts of the forest, yet she found the capacity for the deepest treachery. Perhaps it was because she had no roots, no history, and no ancestors to guide her moral compass. She was a being of the present moment, reacting to the world with the immediacy of a blooming flower. When we see an owl today, we often think of wisdom, but the Welsh remember the flower face. They see a woman who tried to fly too close to her own desires and ended up grounded in the dark. The cycle of the Celtic myths continues to inspire, showing the eternal battle between our nature and our choices. Every character in this tale acted according to their own truth, however flawed it may have been. Rhianrod's spite, Gwydion's pride, Lu's innocence, and Blodeuwedd's longing all collided in a single moment of violence. The landscape of Wales is a silent witness to these ancient dramas, the mountains holding the secrets of the Mabinogion. As the moon rises over the oak trees, think of the woman who was once the scent of the meadow. Remember that even the most beautiful creations can harbor a sting if they are denied their freedom. Blodeuwedd's feathers are now her only skin, and the night is her only home. Thus ends the chronicle of the woman made of flowers, a story of beauty, betrayal, and the iron laws of the ancient wild. Thank you for exploring the depths of Celtic mythology with us today. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio for more legendary tales.